Bruce is on Colbert tonight. It's probably already been taped. I haven't seen
Yeah.
what he played. I would think
Yeah.
maybe House of a Thousand Guitars. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
was
That's
thinking Land of Hope and
interesting. I
Dreams
did.
because I think that's what he played on Stewart's last show was Land of Hope and Dreams, if I'm not mistaken.
I was thinking Land of Hope and Dreams. I thought maybe Streets of if there's time, I thought maybe he'd do Streets of Minneapolis because that makes sense too. But somebody on social media, I guess it's sort of a kind of paying homage to Stephen Colbert. They thought maybe No Surrender.
Yeah,
That
would be
makes
interesting.
We'll
All right,
see.
I show you live, Ryan. I'll show you
Yep.
live.
Going to Spring Nuts, and then I'll go to the cafe, and then we are off and running. Spring Nut Cafe, Spring Nuts. Jim, just so you know what we do, obviously we're streaming to, this is on Zoom, we're streaming to Facebook so people can watch, ask questions. We might ask you some questions from time to time,
Sure.
but then we pull it down after the fact and I put it up on YouTube, so like it's available out there for anybody to watch that doesn't have Facebook.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
All right.
I'm sure my mom will check it out.
Okay.
I was going to tell my mom about this, but the process of getting her to click the link to we'll do this later. We'll
Yeah.
do this
All
later.
right. All right, we are live. We are on. We are on.
All right, Howie, we are good.
I'm trying to just find it on the page so I can make sure that I'm watching this stuff.
Jim, I found this picture and I've seen this before, but like, was that you guys at the studio or was that at Sirius?
Which
Sorry, the picture behind me.
that was so at Sirius. That was the day of the Deliver Me from Nowhere town hall.
Yeah.
That in our lobby at Sirius
So
XM, we have an old-fashioned photo booth.
Oh wow, that's
I love it.
cool.
And so Bruce was in there taking pictures with somebody from his team, and so that guy jumped out, and Bruce was just sitting there. So I said, "Do you mind if I jump in?" He's like, "Yeah, come on in, Jim." So we grabbed a few photos that day.
Yeah, why
Awesome.
not?
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Good time.
Yep. Good there. Okay.
Great.
Good there. Awesome.
Like being in
Okay.
a photo booth back on the boardwalk, back when we were kids.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
We're ready.
We're ready, Howie.
Dun, da, da, da. Okay. All right. Well, we want to welcome everybody to another edition of the Spring Nut Cafe on a Wednesday night here. I can't begin to tell you, this one's a special one for me personally. I've said this many times. He's a friend, a dear friend, and someone that I admire and respect from day one. I know everyone out there loves him because if you're in Spring Nuts, you know East Street Nation, and you know the voice of East Street Nation, the one and only Jim Rotolo. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So I just want to, welcome our, Julie. Unfortunately, cannot be here today. She's a little bit incapacitated, but she's here in spirit and virtually, I'm sure. We have Ryan Hilligoss at the helm, running the show as always, and we have the pride of Ocean Grove, Mr. Stan Goldstein. It's going to be a fantastic show. Thank you, Jim, for doing this. I've told you many times how I feel about you, how the group feels about you. I'm sure you know by every week by them calling you and mentioning Spring Nuts, and I'm sorry about that many times.
No, I love it.
But it's a real honor and pleasure to have you. So thank you for doing this.
Well, the pleasure's all mine. I'm glad we were able to figure out a date and a time to do all this, and I've been looking forward to talking with you guys and talking with everybody in the Spring Nut community. So, let's have a great conversation. Whatever you want to ask, fire away. We'll have a great time.
Yeah.
I will say one thing before we start is that this is we're reversing the tables tonight. Okay, Jim, we're usually bugging Jim. Now we're gonna, now Jim gets to bug us a little bit. we're reversing the tables, and I was just gonna say that I want to say one thing, Ryan. This is a funny story before we start. Originally, years ago, when I thought about doing the Spring Nut Cafe, okay, I had this, my mind is like a hamster wheel, and I'm always like, Okay, and I don't want you to feel like you're the other woman here, okay? but okay, but I did throw this out to Jim one time, and still waiting for the answer. So you got to get. Okay,
Well,
I'm
thank you,
joking,
Jim.
but
Thank you for not responding, Jim.
but it's all good. All right. Anyway, take it away, Ryan.
Jim, thank you for being on here. I've known Jim for a long time, going back to, man, I think it was like 2008, 2009, like when I first started. I got E Street Radio, I got Sirius for the first time, found E Street Radio. Lo and behold, there you and Dave are every Friday morning doing E Street Nation. And you started, how long have you been doing Wild and Innocent now? 10 years, 11 years?
Over 10 years. So 2011 is when we started. I started in July of 2011.
Wow.
Um, they just said, I had this idea for the show and I had pitched it and Dave backed me on it. And it was just a matter of the management recognizing what it could do. And the idea just went out there. And honestly, I thought it just fell on deaf ears and it was never going to happen. And then Greg Steele, who was our vice president of rock programming at the time, basically said, "You're on next Friday night."
Wow.
And that was it. And they had production made, and I was just like, no, I have no producer, I have no staff. It's like, go. It's your, if you're gonna do this, you're on your own. We're gonna give it to you. And that's the way it's been ever since.
I didn't realize
15.
it was your idea. Jim. I thought that there was something. Then you came in and you were the DJ. This was your idea from the get go.
Yeah, so the story behind my idea for this show was I it, during the I'm a big NFL fan. I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan, which we had
Oh,
the worst record in the league last year. We're hoping to progress. But during the 90s, close friends of mine were Jets fans. And the Jets used to play at the old Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands. And the season tickets were fairly cheap. They were fairly inexpensive. So we were guys in our early 20s. We had a few bucks. We were doing okay. And so we all bought season tickets. The team stunk, but we would throw these great tailgate parties. I mean, really, really good. This was not just your typical burgers and on a grill and a few beers. We had, this giant coolers and we had propane stoves and we were making, we were heating up pans of lasagna and, we had space heaters. We would rent a moving truck, like a small, like a Ryder or a U-Haul when it was cold, and that's where we would party. And we bought a 700-watt sound system that I programmed 5 hours of music, of tailgate music. So this was a mix of everything from classic rock to grunge, alternative, metal, R&B, blues, hip hop, and it ran the course of 5. We were the soundtrack of B12 in that parking lot. And what do you do in a tailgate? You talk to other people. You talk to the cars next to you. You talk to the people behind you. You start to see the same people over and over again. So I thought, well, you do that at concerts as well. So I thought, well, what if we get a night together where Bruce Springsteen fans can all talk about, hey, if I went up to you and hey, I don't know you. What's your name? Oh, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Hey, man, how many shows have you seen? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. What's your favorite song from the 1970s? And then you have yours, and then we pass it around to somebody else. Oh, this guy likes Prove It All Night too. And that was the premise of it. It was a tailgate party. It was a good time to sit around and talk about the good things of Bruce Springsteen's music and change up the topics each week rather than just being at a request show. It would have a focus every week. So that's really the concept of it. It's a tailgate party.
Well, you've certainly done that. I mean, I was there from day one on your show. I came in a little late on E Street Nation because that started after the Super Bowl in whatever the
Oh
year that
nine,
was,
no,
oh
I think it
seven,
was oh
oh eight.
nine.
Yeah. Dave said, "Hey, we should have a call-in show the day after the Super Bowl," and people called in, and that there gave birth to E Street Nation, and then your show. But your show has been incredible in just, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but like me personally, and a lot of people I know, all of us that are friends, hardcore fans, like we have got met each other through your show and the Facebook page and me doing the set list for all those years and all that stuff. So like you've definitely brought a lot of people together. So kudos to you for that.
Well, I'm glad. I appreciate that. That's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to have everybody that's a fan of Bruce Springsteen and his music to come hang out with me and just have fun. It didn't, whether you've seen one show or if you've seen 600 shows, it was a place where everybody can come and hang out and have a good time. I've seen it. I mean, you guys know as well as I do with the Spring Nuts, all the friendships that have been built through Bruce's music, and I'm glad that I was able to provide and still do this little place every week where everybody can get together and hang out and have fun and listen to some great music.
All right. Well, yes, we are Spring Nuts. We're Bruce centric, obviously, but we've had a lot of guests on here. They're kind of like in the orbit, they're in the shore area orbit, everything. But we always like to get to know our guest outside of Bruce, outside of the music world. So for those of people watching and listening and watching us later that don't know you, give us a little bit of background about you, where you came from, all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. I'm from New Jersey, but I'm not from the shore. I grew up in a town called North Bergen, which is right across from New York City from Manhattan. I've had a view of the New York skyline in my backyard my whole life. And it's funny because we never went to New York City when I was growing up. Because as Bruce said in his Broadway show, you'll get killed. And that's what we were taught. That's exactly what we were told. Like you don't
It
go
was a
over
lot
there.
rougher. 42nd Street, yes, back
That it
then.
was. It was a different time. Stan knows. Right. So I grew up there. I grew up, in a suburban urban area. It was a great place to grow up. I'm still close friends with many of the people I grew up with. I was more of an athlete than anything else. I played football and baseball. Um, my life kind of centered around that as a kid, even into high school. But there was always music in the background, and it was important to me. It was sort of a way to turn off the sports part of my life, the physical part of it. And I could just sit in my room and just listen to music. And it was so, I guess, soothing, but also, like what music does. It triggers so many different emotions in you. And I didn't until later on, I would say around my senior year in high school, when I realized, at 5'9", 150 pounds, the NFL's not going to call me, or college football, that I needed to figure out a career. And not playing any musical instruments either. I thought there's got to be a way to do something with music. Now, of course, I grew up in the 80s, so MTV was there. So I saw all the MTV VJs and I was like, that's what I want to do. But, that's a far and few in between job to get. So radio was always there as well. So I wanted to be involved in media in some way, whether it was radio or television or journalism, something along the lines, whether it was behind the scenes. I didn't have an exact plan, but I figured out around my senior year that I wanted to be involved in something. I considered acting at that time as well. And so that's what I went to college for. I went to a small state college in New Jersey called William Patterson, which is now a university. It was a college back then. I don't think anybody famous came out of
Where's
there.
that? Where's that at, Jim?
Wayne, New Jersey. I think Ian Ziering, who was on Beverly Hills 90210, went there for like a semester.
Yeah.
That's as far as I know.
And you're more famous than he is.
I guess so. I guess these days, well, I'm not in the Sharknado movies, so that's what that's.
Consider that a blessing.
If he offers me a part as a William Patterson alumni, I'm in.
Okay.
But I went there for a communications degree, and just by coincidence, or just the way things worked out, when I was there, this is the early 90s, the communications program, the building that housed everything, the TV studios, was under renovation. So the TV studios were not really functioning. They were kind of in makeshift trailers, and everything was just sort of not organized. And I was turned off by that because I didn't, get a chance to really learn what I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn to, be a cameraman or something along those lines. But William Patterson College had a great radio station. And so, of course, I found myself hanging out more over there and getting to learn more about the radio side of things and how the business worked. And the good thing about their program was it wasn't like a club, it ran like a professional radio station. It was on the FM dial. And you had a promotions department, you had a program director, I was the sales director at one point doing ad sales. So when you went out into the real world at a radio station, you knew how every department worked and you knew what it was all about. So that's where I was. And I spent about a year and a half on WPSC FM 88.7. We were a college radio station that played adult contemporary music for some reason. So while all the other cool college radio stations were playing, Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and or the Fugees or something like that, I'm on at 6:35 in the morning. It's Jim Rotolo on Hit Radio WPSC FM. This is Michael Bolton. Said I love you, but I love you.
Wow.
Who
Michael
who decided that it was going to be a adult contemporary station? Was that like the president or somebody in charge
I
of the
think so.
station? Okay.
I think so. I think so.
I love the muscle memory. It just came back to you like in that instant. It just
Because
came back.
I remember sitting in the studio because I did the 6 to 10 a.m. shift on Friday. And I used to bartend at night. So I would close the bar at 3:30 in the morning, and that was about an hour or so away. So I would close the bar and I would just drive up to the university, and I would just like get some coffee at 7-Eleven and hang out in the parking lot and wait for the security guy to open the door. So I would just be there after all night. I'd smell like, booze and cigarettes. And I would be just like sitting there with my head down and like, here's Michael Bolton, you know?
It's almost
That's
like
what it
me and
was.
Barry
And
Manilow jumping from Barry Manilow to Bruce. That's almost the equivalent.
it was that period of time in the 90s where it was I can remember the music like that off the top of my head. The one cool song that we did get to play was "No Excuses" by Alice in Chains because it was kind of a slower acoustic, but it was Michael Bolton said "I love you, but I lied." It was Meatloaf, "I'd do anything for love." It was Celine Dion. It was Ace of Base, "The Sign."
Oh my.
Whoa.
Um, it was all these songs because that was the like, soft rock or adult whatever that music was at the time, and that's what us 20-something-year-old college kids were playing which made no sense.
Paid your dues.
Right. I do have a quick story. Many 6 years ago, right before COVID, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in West Hollywood, and I'm at what's the famous hotel?
Oh, the Riot House, the Hyatt. Well, it's something called different
No,
now.
no, no. It's the other one.
Sunset,
It's
the sunset,
not Sunset
Sunset
Marquis.
Marquee. Sunset
I'm
Marquee.
at
Marquette.
I'm at the Sunset Marquis. This is 2 days before the world shuts down,
Hmm.
and Michael Bolton's there at the bar.
Go like this.
We're outside. And I was introduced because I knew somebody that was there, and she introduced me to him, and I told him the story. I told him the whole story. I said, "I'm 23 years old. I'm playing your hit," and he was just like he didn't know what to say. He was very nice. He was
Thanks.
super nice guy, and he said thank you, and we linked glasses, and that was that.
Cool.
What was your transition then from, going to school to actually working professionally as a DJ?
So I got luck. Well, I really didn't start DJing until 2000. 2005, 2006. I was behind the scenes all those years. So I graduated from college, and I didn't know if I had the chops to be an on-air guy. I didn't really know, but I always figured learn everything in the business that way because it was so hard to get a job back then. You got lucky, and that's all you could do. And then, and then you did whatever you could do to survive. So I graduated college, I was bartending, and then there was, again, this is before the internet, and there were no radio jobs in the local paper. Even the New York Times, which had the biggest classified section on Sundays, they didn't have any listings for radio stations. So how did you find out? You just either you word of mouth or you went and knocked on their door. And I did a little bit of that in New York with record companies and stuff. I got no responses. And then there was a job fair randomly, and it was all these different companies and hotel chains and stuff like that. But Z100, the top 40 radio station in New York City, was going to be there. And I brought one resume because that was the only resume I wanted to bring it to. I didn't want anything else. And they were looking for sales assistants and promotional assistants. And I had a sales manager background. So I put the resume in. That was in August of 94. I got hired part-time in December of that year as not in sales even, but as something like a production assistant. And I was so happy because my foot was in the door. Less than 6 months after a little more than 6 months after graduating college, I got my first job in radio. It paid minimum wage. My father was so proud.
Yeah.
5.05 an hour it was.
Wow.
And I basically worked the request lines. So the DJ's on the air in the studio, I'm there on the phones, and Z100, Weezer, Buddy Holly, okay, the TLC Waterfalls, okay, Collective Soul, okay, it was, and that's all I did. But then something else really happened, which kind of changed everything. There was a nighttime show from 10 to midnight called Love Phones. And it was a call-in request, not request, it was a call-in advice, relationship, sex talk show. It was hosted by Dr. Judy Kuryansky and Chris Jagger. This is not the same as the Love Lines with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. This was a completely different type of show. They were the same by design, but they were on different coasts. Loveline was based in LA. Z100 had Love Phones. And I started there as screening those calls, which was a lot more interesting than you want to hear Weezer's Buddy Holly. Okay. So, and I'm working now with this woman, Dr. Judy Kuryansky, who's a clinical psychologist, a certified sex therapist. And it's now radio is an interesting place to be. And we had a blast. We had a blast. We were nationally syndicated. I became the assistant producer to this show, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun, and it ran its course. We lost Z100, and we were
Wait,
still
did you keep all your note logs from all these calls that were coming in just to go back and refresh your memory later at some point in time?
Wait, I get back to this later. I get
Okay.
back into this.
Oh, I hope not, because I may have called a couple of times.
I come full circle in this whole thing. You'll see. I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded on this.
No, you're not. Absolutely not. That's why we're here. We want to hear this.
So I get out. So Love Phones is great, and we're having a blast, and we're nationally syndicated, and it's New York City, and we're getting ratings through the roof, and we're like living like little rock stars. We're going to the big club in New York City and getting in for free and free drinks and VIP stuff, and it's it's great. I'm not making any money. I'm still making minimum wage, by the way, but fake it till you make it kind of thing. So enjoying life and doing all that, they pull the plug on the show. The show gets picked up by a different syndicator based in Cincinnati. So they had asked us if we would want to come out to Cincinnati to do the show from one of their studios. So of course we had no options, so we did. And so for about a month to 2 months, I was living in Covington, Kentucky, because it's right over the
Right
river. They
across
have
the
the bridge
river.
there, and we were doing the show there for 2 months in Cincinnati at an alternative rock station, and it was a great experience. I was promoted to the producer position, so now I'm actually making money, and that was a great time, being there in Kentucky and then Cincinnati, and
I
then we
have to
came back.
ask, Jim, being a
Yeah.
Jersey guy, you're in the New York City, Jersey side, you go to Kentucky. What was that for you like, just culturally, personally?
Well, so one of the things that I don't mean to, it has nothing to do with the people. The people were awesome. We couldn't have picked the two worst months to live in Kentucky or Cincinnati, which was January and February,
Whew.
where it was a steady 36 degrees and drizzling
Mm.
for 60 days. It just never changed the weather. The sun didn't come out. It was depressing. Doing radio was great, but there was nothing to do there. And because the weather was sucked and it was just not fun. The big, going to the Kroger's was kind of like the highlight of the day.
Woohoo!
Me and Chris Jagger would go food shopping. We would go to the Kroger's. And that was it. That's all he had. Hit the gym, go to Kroger's, go do the show. 60
Sorry,
days.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. So Cincinnati for 2 months.
Yeah, that's it. We said we need to go. We need to go rent us a studio in New York because we needed to do that. And we did that for another year. And then the show dissolved. It just, it ran its course and that was that. And then I kind of went more into the production side of things at Westwood One Radio Networks. So I was completely behind the scenes editing clips and tapes and things like that and sitting in on interviews and recording them as an engineer. It was a cool job. It was steady. It was full time. It was health benefits. Some cool people would come in. I'd meet some people. G. Gordon Liddy was there quite a bit.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, he had a radio show, I think, at the time. So he was there. I don't know. It was kind of a cool. The people were awesome. It was a good company. I really enjoyed it there. Um, but then I want to say around the late 90s, so the internet's booming now. And a guy by the name of Bob Meyerowitz, Stan, you might know who that is.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
King Biscuit Flower Hour,
Right, right, right.
very popular music show. So Bob Meyerowitz came up with this idea of the first ever internet talk radio station. And it was called eyada.com, like yada, yada, yada. Seinfeld was hot at the time. It made sense. It was based in New York City, and it was sort of what TMZ is now. It was a gossip-based um, celebrity scoop kind of thing. This is 1999, so this is kind of before that the scandals and the sex tapes and the TMZs and the Paris Hiltons of the world. It was Kardashians. It was all kind of before that. And they hired Richard Johnson, who was at page six of the Post at the time, Russian Malloy. They were a couple that did all the daily dish at the Daily News and we had some other people along the way that came in. So there was a gossip entertainment channel, and then there was a sports channel, and then there was actually a health and fitness channel, which I was working on for a little bit as well. I kind of bounced around, and they needed help one night on the entertainment channel, the late night show, which was called Sex Bites with Bob Berkowitz was the host. He was a CNBC guy back in the day. So now I'm back doing the relationship, sex talk shows, but this is a little bit different now. So this is, I tell people this all the time. So my job was to view adult content and get the people who run these websites and book them as guests for Bob to interview.
Wow.
This is what I did. It was bizarre in so many ways. And the fact that there was the way the office was set up, there was a producer's like pit where there were like seven monitors and seven other producers doing their work. They had to move me into another room because of the content. Now I'm like, this is actually worse that you've put me in another room and everybody knows what I'm watching.
Wow. I have a newfound respect.
Wow.
I had no.
Wow.
We're learning a lot about you
Yeah,
tonight.
none of us knew any of this, Jim. So this is
No,
like a
I
whole
don't think
new
any of
side
us
of you,
are
man.
To be
watching.
Who
honest,
would I? Nobody asked, it's
to be honest with you, most of our other guests just steal things. I didn't know you guys. You guys are much better than that.
Wow.
so that was a strange run of time. I mean, again, it was all phones back then, so there wasn't like, the guests were never in studio. It was always, but you know, Bob, who was a great guy, he would just basically call me and he's like, what do we got today? And I would tell him, and he would be like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, there's the website, check it out for yourself. And that person would be on that night. So it was, yeah, it was an adventure to say the least.
Wow. You went
Um,
full circle there.
Told you.
Taking the calls and just screening for some basic call-in stuff to being more behind the scenes than you would have liked.
Yeah, it was just strange. It was very strange. And again, I'm not involved with music or anything at this point. I'm basically just doing talk radio, but I was also doing fitness shows, and I actually produced another a video game for gamers at that time, which I wasn't much of a video game guy, but so I produced a lot of different varieties of shows in my career. And then the internet boom went, and did what it did. And the cool thing about IATA was it was a great idea in theory, but it was right before high-speed internet was in people's homes. So people were still using dial-up. So that was always a problem for people to listen online. So that eventually lost its funding and everybody got let go. And I don't even know where I ended up at that point. Then I was doing like three different jobs. I went back to Westwood One part time. I was working with some other companies. I worked with Eddie Trunk. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a big hard rock metal
Heavy
guy.
metal.
I worked with him a little bit. He's an awesome guy. He's on Sirius XM now. He's got a great show. I worked with Eddie for a little bit, and then yeah, Westwood One was there. I worked at some behind the scenes stuff again, different radio companies, freelance. And then I worked for a company called Air America Radio, just through friends of mine that were working there or knew about it. I started working there, and that was 2004. So the premise of Air America Radio was to get John Kerry elected president. It was basically funded by the Democrat Party through private donors. So that was fine. And the thing about it was they hired all non-radio people to run a radio station, which, didn't make any sense to me. And I came in as a producer. They didn't even want me as a producer. They had me doing like commercial production, which, okay, I just wanted a job at that point. Trying to think of who the hosts were.
Al Franken
Uh,
had a show. Janine Garofalo had a show.
Al
Bill
Franken,
Maher.
Janine Garofalo, Mark Maron, who ended up becoming on Growing Up many years later. I told him about that we worked there together at the time. Rachel Maddow.
Hmm.
Rachel Maddow was there. Rachel Maddow had a show midday with Chuck D from Public Enemy, and there was another person. There was a three-person team there. She was super nice person. She was probably the one person there that was on air that I talked to the most. She was really cool. And we did that show in Midtown Manhattan, right across the hall from another radio station, WBLS. And I
Mhm.
would get done at the same time every day, and I would get in the elevator with Wendy Williams,
Yeah.
and who was also super nice too. She was a really cool woman to talk with just on the way down every day. Um, and then the election happened in '04. We know the results. And I think after that, I started to see, you know, them turning off the lights. And so I realized I needed to get out of there. Now, at this point, I had already knew about Sirius Satellite Radio and XM Radio, the two companies. And I tried, I was potentially getting hired from Sirius Satellite Radio 3 times for 3 different channels. I did one thing for sports, I did one thing for Maxim Magazine Radio, and there was something else. And the interviews with all those people went great. I knew them, just connections in the business. And every time I was about to get hired, the company had a hiring freeze.
Hmm.
So I kept losing my opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And then finally, a man by the name of John McDermott, who I had interviewed for a Long Island radio morning show producer position, ended up at Sirius Satellite Radio. And he called me and said, I've got a part-time position for you. And I said, okay, producing? He said, yeah. I said, is it somebody I know? And he said, have you ever heard of Dave Marsh? And I said, yeah, he wrote the Springsteen books. And that was it. So in October of '04, I was still finishing up at Air America because the election didn't happen yet. I I ended up working that first Sunday morning. I think it was October 9th of 2004 with Dave Marsh, Kick Out the Jams. And that's where it all started.
So that was the first. He was doing Kick Out the Jams a long time ago then. So that's how you first got in with Dave, and then so talk about the development of E
Yeah.
Street and you guys moving over there and doing work there and E Street Nation and that whole process.
So Kick Out the Jams was a once a week show from 10 to noon Eastern, and Dave he would do interviews, he would play music. It was a free for all. It was whatever was on his mind. As I think it was billed as the crossroads between music and politics. And God, the guests that I had met through there, it was just, it was a who's who of music, people I never heard of who are, legends, but I didn't, know that. I mean, Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey were on, Mike McCready from Pearl Jam. There's like all these people, one after another. And it was great. And of course, Bruce Springsteen was the first, oh God, so it was the box set for Born to Run. So that's '05
Right.
was when that came out. So that was set up. Well, okay, so we've got a year under our belt of doing Kick Out the Jams with all different guests. Not Bruce. Not Bruce. Nils Lofgren was on. I remember Nils being on. Maybe Van Zandt. Maybe. I don't remember. But then the box set comes out. And of course, Dave and Bruce, their relationship goes back all those years. So Dave recorded this 2-hour interview that I sat in on with Bruce. And that's the first time I ever met Bruce, and it's just the three of us in this room. There's no other people. They go at it for 2 hours, just talking and talking and talking about Born to Run and the making of it. We still play it on the channel all the time. I think it's a great interview. Um, and there was this idea behind the scenes with Dave and John Landau management and the Sirius satellite radio people. It was something that was never done before. Like, what if we just played Bruce Springsteen songs for 24 hours? What if we just took one of the channels that existed and just for a little while just made it Bruce Springsteen? And John Landau loved it, loved the idea. Bruce loved the idea. There is something called the digital copyright law, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a dumb law, but you're not supposed to play X amount of songs by the same artist in a row or off of the same album. I guess people are afraid you'll record it like nobody's done that before.
What? Nobody has ever done that.
No, nobody sat there with a tape recorder and pressed play and
Go now.
record on I mean, come on. Uh, as long as you had clearance from the artist, it was okay. So of course, John Landau management and Bruce gave us the get-go. So this E Street Radio thing was born not intending on it being anything more than just a kind of a jukebox, a playlist of, Bruce had the catalog, and it was a great way to promote the box set, because the box set had the Hammersmith show in there. So we could play those songs, which I don't know how many people had ever heard those versions of those songs. So that was a great concept. And that was it. It was just not supposed to last long. It was just an
3 months.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3 months it was. Yeah.
right, right. So that's all it was supposed to do. And then it was done. And so, Dave and I continued to do kick out the jams. We did. I was also producing. I was working with Larry Flick, who was the Billboard dance editor for many years, Billboard magazine. We had started the first LGBT channel on
Hmm.
Sirius. And it was all, and I was the morning show producer. So we had Larry Flick and a woman named Cheryl Barcinas, who they were gay, lesbian, morning show kind of thing. And we played music too. It was cool. It was a great time. I had so much fun working on that channel. So I did that 5 days a week. And then I did Dave's show on Sunday mornings. So I was working 6 days there. Um, the Larry Flick show. Larry's a great guy. He's retired now. He lives in Wales. Then I moved over to Cosmo Radio, which was Cosmopolitan magazine decided to come up with its own radio channel. And so now I know about mascara and blush and smoky eyes and
You had Maxim Radio, now you got Cosmo Radio.
yeah, right. I've been around. I've been around a little bit.
Who would have thought?
You're watching adult content behind closed doors.
Right.
I mean, the whole gamut. You've gone from one side to the other, every which way.
Listen, that's, I mean, it was, I got an education wherever I went, so now I'm working with these two, 20 something year old girls who are, learning radio. They're learning as they go and working with the magazine. And that was an interesting, tie-in and all that, because how do you talk about fashion? It's like, there's a cute, you know, peasant top on page 63 of this month's edition. We're on the radio. It's like, how do we make this work? You know, I know radio, you're supposed to paint the picture, but like, okay, but it worked for whatever reason. It worked. The girls were really good at doing that. And I was the producer, and that was fine. And then I just kind of, I worked with Dave, and then E Street Radio started in '09, and so it still didn't really do anything other than have live from E Street Nation. Other there was no like what I do now where I'm on every day, twice a day, and there was no other shows other than the concerts, the bootleg concerts that we were playing, and once a week we had Dave's show. And there would be the boss. There was also be the boss at the time, and maybe some guest DJs, but there was really no room for me there yet. So I was doing Cosmo and then doing that with Dave. And then I kind of, with the exception of Dave, I left Sirius. I wasn't there for a while. I was just there kind of part time, and I came to a place where I decided that I wanted to go for being on the air, and I didn't think I couldn't do it at the time at Sirius. I had to go basically reinvent myself. So I did, and thank you to WRAT, the Rat at the Jersey Shore, is where I cut my teeth on air for the first time since college. Give or take jumping on with Dave, but to have my own weekend shift over there was really, really something awesome. So I was doing every weekend at the Rat. I was doing fill-ins during the week. That was a lot of fun. A great group of people that worked there. Carl Kraft was the director, still is, and does an amazing job. And so I was there, and then that's sort of around the time when I pitched the idea of the Wild and the Innocent, and that kind of worked out. And the people at Sirius gave me the show and they said, we need you here full time now. You're going to be handling the day-to-day things along with others on the channel. And that's kind of where we are today, with the exception of I wasn't on the air every day until the pandemic happened.
Mm.
I just remember the E Street Nation back in the day, which came out of the Super Bowl, right? Like they were flying home on the plane, and John or somebody brought up, like, hey, we should do a call-in show tomorrow and see what people thought of the performance. I mean, that's really where that came from. And
Yeah.
it was ran for years and years. And like I was religious about it. And so was everybody else. Friday was my day. I
Yeah.
listened to E Street Nation from 10 to 12, and then I was on your show. Like, don't bother me. I did everything I had to do for work from Monday through Thursday. So Friday was my play day, so I could sit and listen to the two shows. But for years, and just as a personal note, like Dave Marsh, chokes me up to just talk about him, but tremendous guy. I mean, I know Dave was not, whatever. He'd go toe to toe with anybody. He'd let you know he did not hold back. But to me, I love talking to Dave about Elvis and Bruce and everything else, and I looked forward to every time I could talk to him. So he was a tremendous part of my knowledge and growth as a Bruce fan, as a music fan, just as just a general music fan.
Yeah.
I found out about you, Ryan. By the way, by Jin's show, because I used to go on the internet and see you putting the set, like as he was playing the songs. You would post
Yes, I was doing the set list on Wild and Innocent every
Yeah, you were
Friday.
doing
Right,
Jim's
right.
Rotolo set list every week. So that's why I became familiar with you.
Because people would come in
Yeah,
like have an hour into the show, they'd be like, "What has he played so far? What can I call him request?" So I was like, "Well, I'll just do the set list so people can come in and see what was played, so they didn't call in and
Good
ask for the
idea,
same thing."
actually. That way we prevent people, yeah, it prevents people from calling in and requesting. And we still get that from time to time, but it's fine. I have a screener every week that lets them know usually. Um, but Dave was so great to me. Dave and Barbara were so generous and so great to me. They treated me really, really well. I learned so much from them. They trusted me to be part of their inner circle. Uh, with Bruce and the band and John and the crew backstage and all of these people. And I've always been so appreciative of what they've done, that they gave me this opportunity, and I'll forever, in debt to them for that, because they just, and Dave and I were just, we were good friends too. I learned so much from him about life and business and music, and like, I I had some really great music conversations with him. Now, you couldn't top him on knowledge of things, but we would have debates. Now, Dave could be quite, uh, I don't know how you would say
Blunt,
it,
direct,
blunt,
argumentative.
direct, but we would have this. Well, what I would do is I would drive him crazy because it was a generational thing, is really what it was about. Because I grew up in the 80s. MTV and music videos were so important to me. And like, Dave's the old guard. That's what, gimmick. That's gimmicks. That's gimmick music kind of stuff. And so we would have these conversations about like, a lot of artists would not have been discovered without MTV. You know, would the Beatles really have been discovered and been as big in America if it wasn't for the Ed Sullivan's show? It's debatable. I mean, they were popular and there was this buzz of them coming to America, but nobody really saw them. Actually, people saw them on the Ed Sullivan show performing, singing. It changed the world. Everybody tells me that. It's when, Steve Van Zandt calls it the Big Bang. So MTV was sort of like that for my generation. I always thought, the artists weren't as big as the Beatles, but I mean, shit, look what Michael Jackson did. I know he was already famous, but look, talking about taking artists to the stratosphere. Michael Jackson, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, and then discovering artists like Madonna, Duran Duran. So we would have these conversations. They were always a lot of fun. And then he would get frustrated with me.
Dave was very much old guard. Like he came from the '60s, Detroit. Like he's tough, ready to rumble at any time. He's ready to throw down and show you his cards all the time, and didn't hold back. But yeah, he came from a different point of view. I mean, he was a journalism guy, wrote for Rolling Stone, Cream, obviously all these years. He grew up with the music, so to see it trivialized in his opinion on MTV, but for like you said,
Yeah.
Jim, for people our age and younger, that was the thing. That's how we discovered people.
Yeah, Dave was sort of he was the watchdog. He was the protector of the music. He would get very protective of Bruce Springsteen's music because it was so important to him, as it is to us, that he didn't want it to just be it was the meaning to it and what Bruce was trying to convey in the lyrics and the music itself. He wanted people to really try to understand that this is what it's about. In any way he could do that, and it's not something that's trivial. And not just with Bruce, but with other artists. He would talk about the importance of these songs and stuff I didn't ever think about. And also he would put things into perspective of the time and place of when these songs came out, what was going on in the country, the culture, what was happening. And it was definitely it was an education that you couldn't get anywhere else. It was just it was this constant musical course that I took the whole time I had worked with him. I loved every minute of it. And even if I didn't know who the artists were, I would go and I would listen and I would learn.
One of the key things with E Street Radio, I remember when it first started in 2005, in an interview, Bruce said, if they find it, they can play it. So he allowed any bootleg that they could dig up. He was fine with it, which all of a sudden I started hearing songs like, wow, I've never heard this before. It's stuff, studio outtakes and everything. That
Bruce
was
said this. Bruce said the same thing. In fact, he would call us and he would say, can you dub that off and send it on down to me? I can't remember. I had it written down somewhere and I lost it. There was one song, and he actually said, I don't remember recording this song. I couldn't tell you what it was now. That's how obscure it is. It's
Maybe it
it's
was
not on it's
it's
not on
Preacher's daughter.
tracks. What's that?
Preacher's daughter.
Was it
Yeah, that's what.
Preacher's
Yeah,
Daughter?
that came up during
Yeah,
one of the
because
special
because
shows.
it's an outtake that he doesn't remember recording, and it's funny because he does it right before, like in the '70s, he was doing it in Darkness Tour. He was doing it right before he went into She's the One, and Preacher's Daughter is by far my song that I'm waiting to be released. I was hoping it was going to be released on tracks, but never. But he doesn't remember even doing it,
Yeah.
and that's incredible to me that he wrote something that good and it hasn't been released. But I think that's the song we're referring to.
That's probably it. Yeah, like I said, I don't remember, but I thought that was amazing. Us getting a call at our studio and like send this, and we would just send stuff down. I know he reached out to me once about but he does listen to the channel, as you guys know.
Right.
There was a concert we had played, or maybe it was just a one-off song. It was a Detroit medley, and I think it was from the River Tour, the original River Tour. So he wanted a particular because he did something in that song that was different than some of the other versions of that tour. So we sent that to him as well. So it's pretty cool that when he gave us that permission to do that. And Stan, you can't believe the stuff that was mailed to us from people. I mean, the cassette tapes covered in dust that were under people's beds that just showed up in envelopes, like stuff that was cut. Like, what do we do? And honestly, a lot of it was crap. You
yeah.
know,
I got a call.
unfortunately.
I got a call from Terry McGovern, probably when E Street Radio was starting. They're starting E Street Radio. Can you bring me as many CDs as you can of unique stuff, live shows, everything? So I actually got to go to Bruce's Rumson house. Met Terry at the gate. I didn't get to go
Right,
in,
right.
but I remember bringing him about 80 different CDs that he brought up to E Street Radio at the time. That was probably 2005, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we would get stuff. I mean, just these bootlegs, reel to reel tapes, unmarked. We didn't even have anything to play it on. We didn't have a reel-to-reel player. It was 2005. Like what? I don't know what, just looking at it. Um, and we did play a lot of that stuff because that's what made the channel unique was, if everybody owned the albums. So now it's like, let's hear some stuff, I mean, playing those bootleg concerts, like, all the 78 stuff from the Agora and the Capitol Theater. That was just great to put that stuff out on the radio for people to hear at the time. We got a lot of great feedback from all that,
Yes,
and then
Emily, somebody's saying, oh, Lynn, does he call the hotline? So one of my favorite moments of all time, of all the years I listened to East Street Nation this is 2016, the River Tour gets announced. You guys are talking. Dave's, giving a little bit of information. Dave always knew stuff, but obviously had to be very discreet with what he was saying and how he said it and this, that, and the other, because he knew 1,000 things more, but he had to be quiet about it. Anyway, you guys are doing the show, and all of a sudden I hear you say, "Oh, Bruce from New Jersey wants to call in and talk about his river tour."
Remember
And that
that?
was like, it was so funny. He's just listening and he called in and, "Hey guys, I want to say something about this."
I screened that call. I was screening the calls, and I saw the number ring, and well, go a little peek behind the curtain. We do have a separate hotline that's a
The
private
bat
number
phone, the
that
bat
that
phone.
say, yeah, that he could call into. He knows he has the number probably in his phone, but he called on the 800 line. So we so if we would have had a so if we would have had a full bank of calls, he wouldn't have been able to get through.
That's
So,
crazy.
so he called in, and I remember it, and I pick up the phone, East Street Radio. He's like, "Is this Dave?" And I said, "No, it's Jim." He's like, "Jim, it's Bruce. I want to talk to Dave. I got about the tour." I was like, "Okay." So now we have this screening software. So I type, it says, name, location, what you want to talk about, and then there's a monitor where the host sees it. So I just wrote it up. Bruce, New Jersey, wants to talk about his tour. And
That is crazy.
It was a
yeah.
fantastic setup, but the thing that blew my mind was like what he said that morning was very clearly like they'd had the box set, and John called him and said, "Hey, if we're gonna do the box set, we should do like 1 or 2 shows in New York and just kind of do a little promo." Okay, that's fine. That sounds good. Well, if we're gonna do 1 or 2 shows, we should probably do like 5 or 10 shows. 160 shows later, there's the River Tour. So it just came out of absolutely nowhere, which is kind of what we're going through right now here, right now with this tour. It came out of nowhere.
I mean, this tour really was put together in 2 weeks,
Mm.
which is crazy. How do you even do that? But they were able to pull it off. That's why I guess when you look at the layout, well, they were able to go West Coast and then East. It wasn't like they constantly were going ping ponging back and forth. So it did work out. Um, yeah, kind of, I had different plans for this year.
Me
up
too.
until up until like the beginning of when I don't know when did Streets of Minneapolis come out? When did the song come out? Like end of February,
Yeah.
In
somewhere
middle
around
of,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So prior to that, I thought it was going to be a slow year for E Street. Considering the year we had prior, uh, which was perfect. The baby being born, but the baby was actually supposed to be born April 19th, and so she was born early on March 27th, and like the tour started like a few days later. So at that point, I'm like, I'm not going. I can't.
Wow.
Our plans didn't line up this year, Bruce and I. Not yet, not yet. But I should announce. We talked before the show started. We are going to be doing a pre-concert broadcast on the 27th from DC, from Nationals Park. So we'll be there on the grounds from 5 to 7 Eastern time. So you'll hear it on E Street Radio, and if you're going to be there, come by. We'll hang out. Not sure where we're going to be located yet, so once I find that out, I'll announce it on the channel. But we're excited. It'll be my first show of the tour, so I'm really
Oh,
excited to see it. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm
A
happy
week from
about it. And
tonight. Yeah.
what's that?
A week from tonight, only 1 week away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm really excited about? There's a song in the set list that I've never seen perform live, and I've always wanted to. And Murder Incorporated. I've always wanted to hear it live, and I'm so happy that I'm almost
It's a highlight
100%
of the
sure it's in the
yeah,
set.
Yeah.
So I'm happy
it's a
about that.
highlight. It's a definitely a highlight of the show. I loved
Yeah.
it. I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
And you'll see what Tom Morello adds to the 9 songs or so that he's on. It's just incredible.
Yeah, he's amazing. He really is. He's so gifted. I want to try to get those guys on. I want to try to talk to Tom once the tour wraps up if we can't get him sooner. Just because I want to get his perspective on it. Um, I've been hearing great things. I've been hearing how tight the band is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They're playing.
even the last few years, the band's just been so. I mean, Bruce has said it himself in interviews. He said the band's just been on fire.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what that is. It's one of those, unexplainable things. I guess from playing so long together,
I think
they just lock in.
I think Nils or Gary explained it this way, like, because for the last 3 years, it's pretty much been like pretty set. Like this show is set. It's more of like in my opinion, a Broadway production. Like it's a set thing. He's got a script. He's got his songs. They're doing it. But even the 23, 24, 25 shows, there was 2 or 3 wild cards, and some shows
Mm.
you'd mix it up, but the structure was there. And either Gary or Nils explained it like if they know what's coming and they're not constantly worried about what audible he's going to pull out or what car, they can get in a groove, they can get into a pocket where like
Yeah.
musically they know it's set. So that explains it to me because each time I think they've tapped out, the next show I see it's even better, and it's like I don't know how they're doing that musically. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always, I'm sure, after every show, there's always something that they think that they can tweak or something so minute that you and I wouldn't know, not being musicians, but once you hear it at the next show, there's the difference, whatever that little thing is, which is awesome. And I know this tour is different because there's a specific agenda that Bruce wanted to touch on. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about a message, this tour, which is again why it happened so quickly, the way it all happened.
So
Yeah.
Um,
Jim,
Well,
I need to have you tell this story. I've heard it a couple times, but I need you to tell it for those that haven't heard it. You talked about being a sports guy when you were in high school, growing up. Bruce was not, necessarily your music that you were listening to. You listened to rock, hard rock, that type of thing. But you've told the story a few times, but just share it again about the first Bruce Springsteen album that you ever got, and like how you transitioned into listening to Bruce.
Sure, sure. It was, like many people, you have an older brother or an older sister. So my brother Joe is a couple of years older than I am. And I remember I was about 10 at the time. So he was 12. And, you know, th for those young people that are checking this out, there used to be this thing called the Columbia Record and Tape Club.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there used to be there used to be this insert in the TV guide. Now, the TV guide used to be a little magazine that would tell you what was on TV. Again, we have to explain this to younger people what the TV guide was.
I still owe them money.
Right. So the Columbia Record and Tape Club was a subscription-based service where you would get, and their big advertisement was like 12 albums for a penny.
Yeah.
The fine print said you're locked in for the next 5 years.
Right.
You have to buy 5 albums, which are probably twice the price of what they would cost in a store. And if you didn't send a card back, they sent it to your house
Yeah. That's how they got
every
it.
month.
Yeah.
So my only knowledge of music prior to that was Kiss, because everybody knew Kiss at that time. Every kid knew the band, and whatever my parents were listening to, at the time, which was my parents were more into the 50s music, so it was Dion, it was Elvis, early 60s stuff as well. Wasn't more of they appreciated the Beatles and a little bit of the Rolling Stones and stuff like that, but they were more into the 50s style of music. So that was always on in the car. Um, but then, like one day, this box showed up and we opened it up, and there were 12 albums in there. And those 12 albums basically formed my musical taste. And it was a combination of many different things. I can remember almost all 12 of them, but Darkness on the Edge of Town was in there. The Doors' greatest hits, the first Van Halen record, which I adored, Billy Squires' Don't Say No. There was a Pink Floyd record in there, probably Dark Side. A lot of that kind of music was in there at the time, and that's so those were my whole world opened up to that kind of music because I didn't know, not knowing any of these artists were Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz was in there, um, and I didn't know any of these songs. I didn't know who these people are. I just you're a 10-year-old kid. You look at things. What does this look like? There's a guy with a cross and Ozzy on his knuckles. I'm gonna have nightmares now, kind of thing. But of course, the cover of Bruce, "Darkness on the Edge of Town," the guy standing there, he's in a t-shirt, he's got black hair, and I had a Fonzie poster on my wall at the time. I thought he looked like the Fonz. Yeah. Next to the Farrah Fawcett poster, there was the Fonz.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? So so I was by myself. My brother Joe would play those records when he wanted to play them, and I had my time when he went out and did something. So I put on that song, "Darkness on the Edge of Town," because that's what it said on the album cover, and I put that song on, and it's the line in the song that I've said a bunch of times. Now I hear she has a house up in Fairview. So Fairview's a town in New Jersey that's right next door to the town that I grew up in, North Bergen. And it's there. I still, oh, I hit my monitor there. I still pass by through it all the time. And I've always wanted to ask Bruce this question. I don't know, maybe I will at some point if I get the opportunity of why he picked Fairview. Because what's the next line? In a style she's trying to maintain. Fairview is not like this rich town. It was very blue collar. So I guess maybe in his mind, or as he was writing the song of that character, like, oh, she left to go be with some, high end lifestyle somewhere else up in Fairview. But it was just so awesome to me, like, oh, this guy kind of knows where I'm around or where I'm from, kind of thing. And that sort of began my relationship with Bruce. But so Darkness was the first album for me, and then I think Joe and I shared a record collection. So I think after that we went, I think it was The River and then Born to Run. And then by the time we collected those, the Born in the USA had come out, and that was funny because that's when everybody in my grade who didn't have an older brother or sister who knew about Bruce all became Bruce Springsteen fans. So that was like in '84.
Right.
That's the story of how that all kind of came to be.
Did you go to any of those 10 shows at the Meadowlands in '84? The summer?
No, I actually had tickets. So a group of friends of mine, we all hung out at the Little League field, and we were all going to get tickets to see Bruce Springsteen, and we all had them, and it was that summer. And I don't know how you catch pneumonia in the summer, but I did.
Oh,
So I didn't go.
hmm.
That was, yeah. So for those 2 weeks, I was kind of quarantined. So I missed it. Um, and so I actually didn't see Bruce Springsteen for the first time until '92.
Wow.
With the other band. The other
Yeah.
band, yeah.
Because by the time Tunnel of Love comes out, I'm 16 or 17, and that just wasn't my vibe. I'm a 17-year-old boy. I'm all jacked up on testosterone and Guns N' Roses and and football and Metallica and AC. It's like that's where my headspace was. I couldn't listen to Ain't Got You or something like that. It was cool stuff. I enjoyed it. I wasn't. I did like that album, and I owned it, but I just didn't, have that
Register.
same connection as I did with the Born in the USA album. I found myself going back and listening over and over to Born to Run, and maybe by that point I actually had bought Greetings and Wild and Innocent at that point instead of going to Tunnel of Love. So then, yeah, I saw Bruce for the first time with the the touring band in '92 because I was just convinced, well, that's over. It's not doing anything with the E Street Band anymore.
Right.
You know, didn't think it was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was 10 years without the E Street Band. Yeah.
what did you
So I wanted
guys
to
think
ask
of that?
you, so
Yeah,
now when you,
So what was your question, Jim? Go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you guys think of that? I mean, I know stand up, you've been, been there pretty much from the beginning. It's like when you find out that the E Street Band's gone and now you've got these two albums and it's, you see Bruce live and there's people that you've grown accustomed to seeing on stage interacting with him and now you're not seeing that. You
Yeah.
know,
I have
what
a
did you
few
think?
thoughts. He did 11 shows at the Meadowlands that summer. I found that interesting. It did 10 in 84. He had to beat it by one. Except for the first night and last night, they were very easy tickets, which never happened for Bruce Springsteen in New Jersey before. Visually, my first reaction, well, I first saw them on Saturday Night Live when they did it. And my first reaction was, this is what he fired the E Street Band for? Shane Fontaine just flopping that hair around and everything. And don't get me wrong, he's a great guitar player. Tommy Sims just looking like a robot playing the bass. Zach Alford on the drums, and I was like, wow. And then when I saw the shows at the Meadowlands again, Zach just flopping that hair over and over just drove me crazy. I can listen to the audio now and I really like it, but visually it kind of bothered me. But another quick story too. A friend of mine saw him at the Nassau Coliseum, and he said they had extra tickets, and for the first time ever, they were actually outside the Coliseum saying free tickets. Does anybody want them? And there was no takers, and it was
Wow.
just a whole different period. Like I said, I like listening to the songs now. I like listening to the shows. Visually, though, it kind of bothered me. They were great musicians, nothing against them. But
I gotta tell you, it was one of my favorite. I happen to love that tour, and I enjoyed that. I went to a bunch of the shows that time, maybe because the tickets were easy to get, but I actually loved it. And there are certain. I felt like Bruce at that time knew there was a big transition, and it almost felt like when he was on stage, he had, and it's crazy to say this, that he had something to prove again, that he
Mm.
wanted to show that he could do it. And it was a different vibe. He was in a playful mood, even like during, I thought it was very comical when he did this skit during Glory Days where he would take this big, thing and he would pull out Billboard magazine and check where the albums were lining up on the list, and
Yeah.
he would see, well, he would make fun of it, and he was making fun of himself, but he just like, it almost like he didn't care. It wasn't about that, It was about him having fun, and I thought, it was a fun show. I mean, I tell the story once before that one time I went with my best friend to one of the garden shows, I think it was, and we were sitting right on the side, and I turned around and I saw Dell and his father, and her husband, um, Douglas, right? Like, I
Doug.
forget his
Yep.
Doug,
Yep.
and I turned around and she's like smiling, and I, she was. I said, hey, as a joke, I was saying, I said, how did I get better seats than you? So, and she laughed, but the father just looked at me like death, okay, like she was gonna wring my neck. But I thought they were very fun. And you know what? There's a lot of great songs that I would kill to hear today. Again, like with Every Wish, I love that song. I thought it was a great song. And My Beautiful Reward, and obviously, If I Should Fall Behind. There's a lot of great songs on those albums.
Yeah.
And it took years to release. It's also like a conversation that we had years ago, Jim, when it was right before you were telling me like Bruce got this new album coming out, and it was after an event that we were talking, and it happened to be Western Stars, and you was again, it blew my mind that this was the route Bruce was going, and but he was over the moon over it. He was really proud of that. I loved that album. I thought a
I
lot of
love that
people loved
album.
that album. I know, and I remember you telling me how much you loved that album. And it is a brilliant album,
I really do.
and yeah, it was. It's beautiful. I wish there was some kind of between the Broadway shows and what he, then going back to to the stadium stuff, that there was some kind of Western Stars tour. Not a whole blown tour, but something that we could have seen him play those songs.
I had an idea for Western Stars. So Sony came over to the record company came over to Sirius to play us some songs from Western Stars. So we didn't know what we were getting.
Mhm.
So we sat down in this conference room and they said, "Okay, this is going to be Bruce Springsteen's next album." I think the first song they played was Tucson Train. And then I think it was Western Stars was in there as well. And they kind of explained to us, it's a Southern California style theme, all this stuff. So now we're just sitting in the room and we're just kind of like, which is really weird, by the way, to sit in a conference room with like 11 people and just not staring at each other, but kind of staring at each other and just kind of like bobbing your head to music. I don't know, it was weird. Um, but I had this idea in my head, and I'm thinking to myself, one night only, with because I'm hearing the strings. I'm like, one night only or residency, Hollywood Bowl,
Ooh,
Wow.
I would be there.
Westerns, Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen, Western. Just do the album straight through from
Right.
start to finish, and maybe sneak in a few other songs afterwards.
Right.
Um, that was my idea.
I wish.
No
I wish.
soon, no soon after those songs were played, we were immediately informed the record's coming out on this date. He's not doing any touring behind it. And I was like crushed. I was like, oh, that would have been we could have had Sirius XM presents Western
Right.
Stars. Okay, fine. It's what you want to do.
I like that idea, the Hollywood Bowl. That would have been incredible. Wow.
Yeah,
Whole orchestra, like imagine what happened in the barn with the movie. Put that in the Hollywood Bowl, like with that
right,
huge sound, like that would be extraordinary.
right. But
It's
I know, listen, they did a great job with the barn whole thing. I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
think that
Oh, absolutely.
it's a great,
it's almost as like what he did with Nebraska. You came off the river, this full blown thing, and then all of a sudden they give, he's coming out with Nebraska, and it's him with him and his guitar and a recorder, and same thing with Western Stars. Everyone was expecting this other, bombastic thing coming out, and you get this country thing. The same thing would happen with tracks. When I remember when I heard about tracks, and I thought people were at tracks too. Actually, I thought Stan and everybody was trying to like troll me because they were telling me there's going to be a mariachi album, there's going to be a country album, there's going to be that. I'm like, okay,
there's
he just wants.
instrumentals on there.
Yeah.
Right, he just wants me to put it out and make a fool of myself. I'm not buying that. I'm like, meanwhile, it turned out to be true. And I was like, holy
I
shit, it was really
I
fun.
love that box set.
Yeah.
I find myself
Me too.
listening to that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I'm somebody. I know there's people in the Bruce fan world that are not as open to different ideas. That kind of like certain things that Bruce
Right.
does. I'm somebody that likes when artists definitely go in different directions. I like to see now sometimes it doesn't work, but then sometimes it's absolutely amazing. And I think, when it comes to Bruce, he's so incredibly talented, you know, as Dave Marsh once said, if you were to tell me that Bruce Springsteen's going to put out an album of Pete Seeger songs, I would have told you were crazy.
Mm,
How did
right.
that go?
Yeah.
How great was that tour?
That was Sega Sessions was great.
Yeah. Or that he was going to be on Broadway for a year and a half. How about
Right.
that?
A
Yeah.
Broadway show.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, all these projects that he did, I guess post post reunion
Hmm.
tour when more of that stuff started happening. Nobody would have expected these things to happen based on the way his career was prior. And so, and meanwhile, all those songs those albums that were just shelved from that became the tracks two stuff. I mean, all that stuff he was experimenting with behind the scenes. That
Streets of
whole somewhere
Philadelphia.
north of
The
the
Streets of
Philadelphia
Philadelphia
sessions,
album
I
is
love.
it's my favorite out of all of them. That one and Perfect World, and he could have released Streets of Philadelphia Sessions and would have been an album that on its own could have been done pretty well. I love Waiting on the Edge of the World and great song. I love that song.
It is so incredibly different, though, from
Mhm.
Yeah,
where, because if you look at his progression or what he was doing, coming off of Human Touch and Lucky Town, that was the next album. That's what was coming. And, you know, I always wonder to this day how well that would have been received. I mean, Streets of Philadelphia was a great song.
Mhm.
It was tied to a movie,
Right.
you know, um, and that worked for what it did. But I wonder how the whole album would have played out. Music was such a different place at the time, you know.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So and,
We
and Bruce was sort of I guess reinventing himself in many different ways.
Mhm.
yeah, we had David Sanchez on here last week, and David said Bruce has 3 albums in the can ready to go that no one has heard yet.
Yeah,
So
Dave dropped something that he probably shouldn't have said, but
Right.
he said it here in public. 3 albums. And Dave said 2 years ago, I think, that they had Soul Covers Volume 2 in the can, ready to go. And Dave even said that they had plans to maybe tour some behind it. So there's that. But then that leaves 2 whole other albums that Bruce has done that Davey has been involved with that are just out there.
well, and then of course, again, Bruce mentioned tracks 3 is
mhm.
already done, and that's E Street Band stuff.
Mm,
Wow.
Who the hell knows what's on there?
Right.
He also, when at the end of, I guess it was 2 years ago, when he did that Slim Dunlap cover, and he called into E Street, he told me that there is a covers album that is E Street Band. He had the band at his home studio, and they laid down a whole bunch of songs. Who knows if when those will be released? And let's not forget that just because an anniversary came and went, there was that Born in the USA box set still exists somewhere. Now, whether it ever gets released, Bruce never exactly released box sets according to a certain anniversary anyway. So, what's to say that doesn't show up at some point?
mm.
So wasn't
Point is,
that
we're
the
going.
Born in
We're
USA
there.
sessions? But
What's that?
well, I'm sorry. Wasn't that the Born in the USA sessions that were on the tracks, or there's more than that? You're saying?
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh,
I mean, there
okay.
might be more.
Okay.
There might. There was talk over the years of a Born in the USA box set coming out. Now, what it
Gotcha.
contained on that, maybe some of the stuff that ended up on the Nebraska's in there.
Okay.
Maybe there's some live stuff. I don't really know, but it was something that was discussed years ago. So, there's plenty of Bruce Springsteen music
Mm.
there. It
Yeah,
exists.
always.
I don't know what David Sanchez was talking about, but that's nice to hear.
Well, Jim, I love it, and the fact that, and Bruce has talked about this, like, he's getting older. You see that train coming down the tracks, that light focuses your attention. You realize you only have so many days, so many years left. He used to be the guy that would wait 5 years, 3 years between albums. At this point in time, he just wants to get it out there, and just let it be out there. And then once it's gone, he doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I guess that comes with over time. Yes, you sort of see your mortality there. That's one thing. But I think the other part of it is I'm sure it's very freeing to an artist. And maybe it took Bruce later in his career to kind of get to that place. I guess every artist, where all of the things that you're told are important to you are not as important. Again, rock and roll, going back to what Dave Marsh would talk about, was, rock and roll was the outlaw art form. It was the rebel art form. And it was something that was protected. And the worst thing you could have been called was a sellout, to not be authentic. And so, an artist, I think Bruce, especially in his younger part of his career, I'm sure that he always wanted to make sure he was the real deal,
Mhm.
and that's got to weigh on you, I would think, carrying that. Bruce and other artists as well, and then you get to a point where you just don't give a shit anymore.
Right.
I think that's where he's at.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna put an album of soul covers out. I'm gonna put out an album of Seeger sessions covers with a bunch of other musicians. I'm gonna put out this California pop,
I like it.
Burt Bacharach thing, and like, cool, do it, man. Love it.
Mm.
Love every minute of it. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
helps me with a music channel based on his
Yeah.
on his stuff, gives me something to talk about and gives us some more stuff to play,
Yeah.
you
Jim,
know.
quick question, the noon show, who picks that? I know sometimes it's an anniversary, that date, but how does that get picked? What's going to be played at 12 o'clock every day?
There's kind of a selector thing that we kind of there's a rotation of stuff, of course, with the Nugs releasing the Land of Hope and Dreams tour. We try to get those up as quickly as possible. Um, you know, we're constantly tinkering that because we don't want to burn out, and we don't always want it to be so predictable. If, today's the 19th, so we're going to play a show from the 19th. But sometimes it makes sense to do that. Sometimes it does, especially if it's a particularly well-known concert. So there's no set science to it. We're still always kind of working it out. And sometimes people want to hear more of the classic shows, and then from 78, say, or things like that. And then people want to hear more of like the more recent stuff, shows they went to. The thing is, as you know, Stan, and you guys know, there wasn't a lot prior to Nugs. There was the bootlegs. The Darkness tour gave us a lot. There's the Odeon. I mean, people ask us like, why don't you play something from 73? Like, we don't have anything from 73. It's we don't have those things. The Born in the USA tour, if I have this correct, is it NFL Films that holds a lot of that?
Yeah, but I have a friend who works for NFL Films, and I asked him, they did film those shows, but they don't have anything in their vaults. I've asked them that a few times, but that's always been a rumor out there that they have
Yeah,
born in the USA shows. But he said, no, we have nothing. Yeah.
yeah, and also the Rising tour too. From what I could be completely wrong on this, but from what I understand, what the Rising tour was, um, those shows were recorded on a mechanism called a DAT,
Hmm.
which is digital audio tape. They were like little, they're kind of like micro cassettes, mini cassettes that are supposed to have the same digital quality as a CD. I've worked with them in recording studios and production studios and radio. The problem with DATs are they are very, very sensitive. And the slightest thing wrong, they're destroyed. So if they weren't 100% well taken care of, they're damaged and they're useless. And it's not even something where it's like you can cut something out and fix it or edit it out. It's once it's damaged, it's kind of done.
Wow.
So from what I understood, there was some Rising stuff that was recorded on that. I'm getting this secondhand, so I didn't have this directly from anybody. So that's why there's not as many Rising shows that
There's
exist.
Nugs has only released one Rising show of that
Yeah,
whole tour. Yeah.
yeah. I
Like
love
you
that
said.
tour. That was
Yeah.
another great tour. That
Oh, yeah.
was, you
Shea
know,
Stadium, Atlantic City, one of his greatest shows of all time, March of 2003. Yeah.
yeah. I always remember I've told this story before about hearing about that album. Because again, remember the Rising that the reunion tour ends and we'll be seeing you. Okay, will we? I don't
In
know.
what form?
Well, I mean, I was again. That was the first time I saw the E Street Band, so I was like blown away. I think I went to like 4 or 5 shows on that tour, and then that was it. And I was like, okay, done, great. 9/11 happens, world changes. I was working with Westwood One, and we had a partnership with MTV, and I was in Atlantic City, and I was at the Trump Taj Mahal with friends of mine, and we were going to see the Goo Goo Dolls. And somebody from the industry was there, and he said, I had just heard Bruce Springsteen's new album. And we were like, is it the E Street Band? And he's like, yeah, it's the E Street Band. And it might be the best album he's ever done. And I was like, well, that's not possible.
Was that
But I
magic?
was but I was intrigued. I was like, okay, I need to hear what this Rising album. Well, he didn't say it was called The Rising. He just said it was going to be this album that's just going to blow you away. And I couldn't wait for that. That was such a great point when that came out. And very healing, of course, at the time.
15 songs on that album. Yeah, like Born to Run is 8, Wild the Innocent 7, 15 songs on the Rising.
15 songs, a more modern sounding record at the time. Drum loops, he was kind of taking that from the Streets of Philadelphia sessions when he started working with those beat libraries. You know, you see the progression in his music over the
Yeah.
year. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh yeah. These shows, it's the same set list. He has something to say. There's a purpose to it. But I'm looking at it too. You mentioned mortality. He's 76, and we know a lot of fans who aren't there anymore, who have been around, and you look and they have passed away. And I just look at it like you never know. So you got to really appreciate every night that you have with Bruce and the band.
that's
So,
that's that's the right word for it, Stan.
Yeah.
Appreciate.
Yeah.
Because number one, you never know, but also you have to appreciate the fact that the people that are on that stage and considering the age that they are and what they're giving of themselves. And I hate to say it this way, but there are a lot of other artists that are around that age or even younger that unfortunately can't do it to that level. And the fact that, Bruce and all the members of the E Street Band and all the support, the horns and the backup singers and percussion, everybody is just, putting out this effort and you can feel it. I think anything, the one thing that you could really take away from this tour is the appreciation of what we really have here as Bruce fans is something really special. Um, and so I don't think any of us take it for granted because, like you said, Stan, this could all be gone.
yeah.
You never know in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jim,
So,
question for you, Stan. You've mentioned that before. And it's a great point. I mean, we've lost Clarence and Danny. I mean, shit, they've been gone now for almost 15, 20 years. So two key members are gone. Jim, last week when we interviewed Davey, we asked him about the first time he met Bruce, and he like could recall it down to the detail about being at the upstage and walking up the stairs, and there's Gary standing next to Bruce, and Gary says, "Hey, Davey, here's my friend Bruce. Bruce, here's my friend Davey," and they jammed for 5 hours. Like he remembered it so clearly in his mind, it was crazy. Anyway, so I guess my question to you is, I mean, you said you met Bruce for the first time in 2005 doing the no, yeah, 2005
yeah, the
interview
interview. Yeah.
with Dave. So you've known Bruce off and on for 20 years, and I'm not getting personal. That's not my point of my question, but you met him for the first time 20 years ago. Obviously, with the career you've had, you've met a lot of people in the industry, artists. Is there anything that's changed for you over the years as far as your opinion of Bruce as a person, not as an artist, but just as a Bruce as a person and like your dealings with him?
Well, yeah, I guess because you get to know somebody more. I mean, I didn't know who he was when I first met him. I had watched interviews of him and things like that, but he was the day I met him, he was super nice. He was a bit tired. I mean, I didn't really talk to him till after the interview, so they were spent after going 2 hours, hardcore conversation. But he was gracious enough to take a photo with me, which was really nice. I didn't know if I was going to get the photo or not. Dave was like, "Don't ask him." I'm like, "I'm going to ask him." It was the day before my birthday. I was like, "I'm asking him." I
Yes.
brought a I brought a again before camera phones. I brought a digital camera in.
You got the opportunity, go
I
for it.
was, when am I going to have this again? I don't know. I didn't know there was going to be an E Street Radio, and I'm going to, be able to talk to him
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you a funny story about the second time I met Bruce. This was this was an awkward one.
I know
So
you told me the story, but it's a good one.
this is Devils and Dust. So David interviewed Bruce, or we were going to do a follow-up, I think it was. And Bruce was at the studio. So Dave said, "We're going to take a walk down to the studio, meet up with Bruce and all that." And I said, "Okay, fine." So I have recording equipment. Back then, it was a big shoulder bag and get down. So we go and we sit in the green room. And I'm setting up the equipment. And Dave says, I'm going to go check and see how much time we have. So Dave comes back and says, they're looking at artwork and stuff like that. He's kind of wrapped up. He's just sit tight. We're going to be probably about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. So I said, okay. So he said, I got to go run down to the office. I'm going to use somebody's phone or use the office phone. I need to call in with something. I said, okay, I'm set up here. I got headphones on and whatever. And I put just waiting. So Dave walks out door right. The minute that door closed, Bruce just walks in and sits down right in front of me. Like it was almost like it was choreographed. So now I'm just, and we're just looking at each other. And I'm like, hey, Bruce. He's like, hey, how's it going? How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. And now that it's like awkward silence, what do you say? Now you've got this guy in a room by yourself and it's just the two of you. So you've been busy. Yeah. Been busy doing stuff. Yeah. And thank God Dave came back in at that point because I was like, I don't know what to do.
What do we say? Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, like, wow, I'm talking to Bruce Springsteen. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Working on music? Is that what you do? Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just caught me off guard. That was the second time I met him, and then we had the turkey sandwich, which was the story where we went to his home to record. He did guest DJs for the channel. He did two guest DJs. This was fun. I had no idea what I was in store for that day. I thought this was going to be an hour long, maybe an hour and 45 minutes of just kind of recording breaks. This turned into a 4 hour thing, which blew me away, which was cool. Just because Bruce he did two guest DJ shows. He did of one was political songs. This was right when Obama was going to be inaugurated. So I guess this was December of '08. Yeah, the election was in '08.
Mhm.
So it was like December of '08. So there was one was all political songs. And I can't remember what the other one was. The other guest DJ was. I think it was
Just like music
like
that he was
favorite
listening
songs
to.
or
Yeah,
song.
it was stuff that was on his iPod or whatever at the
Yeah, it
time.
was songs he was listening to now or something like that. And he came in and he was super nice but he didn't really have anything planned. So it was just sitting in front of an iTunes and just pulling up songs. I'm like, let's listen to that. Let's listen to that. I watched him kind of work, kind of craft a playlist and what he was going to say in real time, which was kind of cool because this was probably the closest I'm ever going to see to him making music. But it was really cool watching him do that. And we're in this room and we're watching him do this. And I think the first show was already done, and we're starting to do the second one. The political one was second. And he just, uh, everybody had their head down, and he just popped his head up and he's like, "You guys hungry?" And the house had a kitchen next to, right outside of the recording area. I never saw anybody come in. I never saw anybody come out. There's a whole nice table of food, and we all sat around a table. It was me, Dave, Bruce, Toby Scott, and we had turkey sandwiches. And I still the best turkey sandwich I've ever had to this day. Just four guys, just like lunch break on the job, just eating turkey sandwiches and having fun. It was very cool. It was such a huge day for me in my career at that time. It was a lot of fun.
All right, Ryan, should we wrap it up? Jim's a new dad.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, Jim, I'm sorry. We were remiss in not saying congratulations.
Yeah.
I know it's
Thank
been
you.
out there. It's been out there for how old is she now?
She'll be 7 weeks on Friday.
Wow.
7 weeks. Wow. So
It's amazing how,
congratulations.
thank you. It's amazing how quickly she's just kind of every day you kind of see something new. It's blows my mind, you know.
Mm.
So
Now
really,
she's now she's very much into her like she's learning her limbs. So now she's constantly throwing punches and kicks and cute, adorable.
All right. Final thing for me is I was fortunate yesterday, Jim, to get a sneak peek of the new Bruce Springsteen Center at Monmouth University. And
Yeah,
it's a must see for everybody. I know Howie hopefully has something in the plans in next week. But anyway, they have a
cool.
beautiful theater, 241 seats. I could see your show being done in there, some special events with you in there.
I,
Yep.
I got to get on the phone with Bob Santelli and talk.
Yeah.
Eileen Chapman and I talked a little bit at Light of Day, and she was telling me about, what's involved there. And I was like, this is a must see. Now this is you have the Jersey Shore and you have, the Bruce Springsteen Center right there on the campus, which isn't far away. I mean, this is like this is a vacation destination now in New Jersey. I mean, every Bruce Springsteen fan should definitely go check that out because of course you got the history of everything in the museum in the center there. You've got the Jersey Shore, you've got Asbury Park, the Stone Ponies right there. You've got Stan's tour. I mean, it all ties together perfectly. So, Bruce fans, you got to get on it and get to Jersey.
Yeah, I said it's like the baseball. If you ever been to the Baseball Hall of Fame, it's like this is the Baseball Hall of Fame for Bruce Springsteen fans. The first floor is about American music. The second floor is just Bruce Springsteen, and we're all gonna spend hours and hours in there. It's that good. And the
That's what
theater,
I hear.
yeah, they tested the acoustics yesterday with some musicians, and it's perfect. So I can see you on that stage with
Love it.
live from the Springsteen Center. Yep.
I would
Man,
love
it's
to
like
do
the
it. We'll
Stan.
try
It's
to
like
make.
it's gonna be the Graceland for for those of us that like Elvis.
Yeah.
It's Graceland. This will be the Graceland for Bruce fans.
Yeah, I'll try to. I'm going to try to get there at some point to check it out. And those two concerts, those nights of, I mean, those lineups are amazing that they were able to put together, some of the greatest people in music.
Yeah,
You know,
they just added Cheryl Crow to the Friday night show.
yeah,
Yeah,
which is
that's all that.
great.
Yeah.
Which is great. Cheryl
and Ryan
Crow.
Fallon is on fourth.
Is he
What's
the,
that?
yeah, Brian
Brian
Fallon.
Fallon.
That's the fourth. Okay.
Brian's got a new album out. I think we're
Yeah,
gonna do an I think we're gonna do an interview at some point. He did my growing up show already, but I wanna talk about the new
I
album.
love those shows you do. Those are
Thank you.
great shows.
Yeah.
Today you're gonna hear this soon. Today I talked to Jason Newsted, who's the former bass player
Oh
from
wow,
Metallica.
from
Mm.
Metallica. Wow.
Oh,
He's got a new band. They're gonna go out on tour in July. They're opening up for Blackberry Smoke, another great cool rock band. I didn't know Jason was a Bruce fan.
Mm.
Um,
Me neither.
Yeah, and he is. He talks about we get into that. We talk about his album, his music, and the band that he's working with now, and all of that. But he's very passionate about when he comes to talking about Bruce Springsteen and talking about his songwriting. So, that's the one thing I do love is that when talking to other musicians, you'd be surprised who the Bruce Springsteen fans are sometimes.
I would have a guest.
Yeah,
Jim,
yeah.
for me, Howie, I'll let you finish it off. But for Jim, for me, truly appreciate our friendship over the years. Whether that was calling into the station, talking to you. We used to love it when you did your own screening on Wild and Innocent, and we'd be able to talk to you for a little bit. But
Yeah.
no, yeah,
That's when the
I
screener doesn't show up or is late, by the way, which happens from time to time. Although I got a good guy now, so I think we're good.
I just want to say thanks for everything over the years, E Street Nation, Wild and Innocent, all that you've done, people that you brought into my life through what you do. It's truly a gift. So just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I have one question. It's not a Bruce topic, but I always wanted to ask you this question, Jim. Okay, Van Halen, is it David Lee Roth or is it Sammy Hagar?
It's a good question. I've always looked at it as two different bands. I don't think they're the same band, because the lead singer in both of those bands wrote the lyrics,
Right.
and Dave wrote about. I mean, they weren't the most deepest meaning lyrically,
No, I know, but I know you love them, so that's
Nobody's
all right.
writing Blood Brothers onto a Van Halen song, but
Right.
Uh,
it's all about the fun of it. But I mean, I when I'm listening to Van Halen, I bounce around from different albums, and I get into some Sammy moods, and I get into some Dave moods, and I think they were a great American hard rock band that, as loud as they played, and I always thought they had that great balance of they were hard rock, but they weren't. There was fun to it, you know. Uh, the girls liked the music, it wasn't
Right.
so angry. It definitely wasn't
Mhm.
angry. It was more fun,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
David Lee
for
Roth,
sure.
it was the greatest wet T-shirt contest that ever existed, kind of thing, you know.
I think
And,
I
and and
think
Sammy was more of a different type of the party guy, He was,
right.
in his own way. But the music, I mean, Van Halen, the music that they made, the brothers, it was just, I don't know, I loved it. I loved all of it. I'm going to promote another Sirius XM host, Tommy London, who you hear on, he's on Ozzy's Boneyard, he's on Hair Nation, he's on Classic Rewind, which, oh, by the way, I might be coming back to Rewind at some point as well. So
Uh,
to be determined at some point. Um, but Tommy London's got a new Van Halen podcast that I'm hoping to do at some point. He's a
oh,
cool guy.
cool.
We're friends. So yeah, if you're a Van Halen fan, check that out.
I know you're a big fan, but I actually like Hager. I mean, I like Roth's stuff also,
Yeah.
but I actually did love the Sammy Hagar stuff a lot. But on another note, to close, I just, again, I want to thank you for doing our show. I know it's something that it's usually the other way around, like I said, and it's not something you always do. But I really felt that at least in my world, in our world, in the Springsteen world, you're definitely like one of us, and if not, you represent us for sure. The wild and innocent, we've said it, separately and collectively at times that, where you bring people together. Someone mentioned it in the comments earlier. Your bedside manner, you make people feel comfortable. And when you call in, whether you're a first time caller or whether you're a caller that you've called a bunch of times, you always make that person feel special and calm, even if they're nervous coming on the radio, and you know how to get to them. And it's a great gift that you have. You bring people together. It's something that obviously we try to emulate here in the group as well, and make these friends. But you do it on a weekly basis, for many years. I admire you, for what everything you do. I appreciate your friendship and your support for the group all the years from day one, being in our corner and all this stuff. And I just wanted to thank you for all of that. And we are so happy for you and Lillian and your new addition. And we only wish you the best of everything, only happiness and success, and only good things in your life. And we hope we see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Howie. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I hope we didn't go too long. I hope, these
Oh,
stories
No.
didn't
This is
wind
great.
great.
If we
along.
This
go too long, we're good.
we're
That means
good.
we're
This
competent.
yes. Sometimes I'll say
When we cut
an
short,
hour
we're
in,
good.
let's wrap it up. But no, this one was like, wow. No, we could go another, but no, we know you got things to do.
Good.
Thank you.
I hope everybody that checked it out had a great time today. I had a blast,
Thank you.
it was nice to be on the other end of things for a little bit. But I thank you, Spring Nuts, for supporting me and the channel and Sirius XM. And it's always great running into you wherever I am, whether I'm at the concerts or I'm just hanging out in Asbury or wherever it might be. I
Bathroom,
appreciate all of you.
dinner.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry.
I appreciate all of you, and I really admire Howie, what you and Julie have done with creating this organization and the events and getting people to come together and the friendships that all got built, like you had mentioned, Ryan, just through this channel. I'm glad I could help along the way. I've always wanted to have, like, it's always fun talking about music with people. I've always enjoyed doing that, and I've always wanted to have people feel included in the conversation. Whether you know one song or you know every song. Um, it's important because everybody matters. So
Mhm.
that's why when the show happens, that's why it's not that I do, it's why I like first time callers. It's not to discourage other people from calling in that, that do call in from time to time. I enjoy them as well, but I always want to see, I always want to make sure other people feel welcomed. So, it's great getting those people that call in for the first time and they say, "Oh, I never thought I would call in, but I'm so glad I did." And, that makes me feel good. So, um,
Well, I'll leave you with this. Is one thing that when people, and it's a common thing, it's even for me, and I'll leave you with this. A lot of people say when they get this call from Sirius XM and they want them to renew their membership and everything, and we all say, but we only listen to East Street Radio. Why do we have to pay full price? We only listen to one station. So, why do we have to pay for all the other stations if we're only listening to Jim? You know?
as I had a conversation with my dad. My dad passed away in 2019, but I had a conversation with him in 2018. He said, "I got another bill from Sirius XM," and I'm like, "Don't talk. I have nothing to do with the subscription. Why are you talking to me?" He's like, "I called customer service. I told them who you were." And I said, "Did that
I can't
change
imagine.
anything?" He's like, "No." I know we have different plans, and I know there's an a la carte where you can pick only a few channels or whatever. I'm sure there's something that fits everybody's needs. So, um, please don't go away.
We
Never,
won't.
never.
We won't. All right.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Jim.
Thank you,
All right,
Jim.
So
guys.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jim.
guys. This was
Take
a
Okay.
lot
care,
of fun.
everybody.
Thank you, Spring
And give
Nuts,
our
and
love to Lillian and to your beautiful daughter.
all
Yeah.
right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Good
Take
night.
Take
care,
care.
Jim.
Good night.
All right. Wow.
We
Wow. That
heard a
was fun.
lot of. He's had a hell of a career, like 30 years of bouncing
I
from
didn't know
one
half the
station to
stuff
the
that he
other,
did.
no, we learned a lot about him. Those sex shows and watching.
watching adult content behind
Yeah.
doors with
Yeah.
earphones on.
Yeah. Let me
What a
just.
daughter.
Howie Brian Fallon is June 4th. Is that official?
That's what Julie told me. I'm gonna go in. Julie's
All
in
right.
historical mode these days, so I would say that she's pretty. I'm sure she's pretty on.
Okay. 'Cause I hadn't heard that. I just heard about Cheryl Crow. So that's good. The fourth needs a. Not that there's
No,
anything wrong
that's what I'm
with
saying. No,
line.
I know it,
Yeah.
but it needs some of that other
Yeah.
stuff here.
The
And
fifth
listen,
is
if
so
Brian
much more
Fallon,
loaded than I
yeah,
think
it's loaded exactly.
the cheapest ticket on StubHub is like $980 for Friday night.
Wow.
No.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was a
Wow.
great interview,
Great
guys.
interview.
Almost
Wow.
2 hours, and didn't even feel like that. But
No.
again, I felt like, he's one of the guys that I've always wanted to have on the show. No doubt about it. It's like, he does a lot what we're doing here, obviously, and listen, like I said, I found out about Ryan through watching, through reading his thing every
Doing my
week.
set
And
list on every Friday
no,
night,
I'm
man.
telling you, that's what I saw.
Set your watch by it.
And then when I finally met you, I'm like, you're the set list guy. Now you're the streamer guy. And now you're
Yeah.
the well, it's
Yeah.
better to be the speaker guy, but the streamer guy. And then, so it's great. It just shows you how when you have the right formula of bringing, even for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it may be, and you just want to leave things with you, whether it's E Street Radio, whether it's the group, whether it's the cafe, whether it's where you can have good time, enjoy yourself. It's not that hard, and
Yeah.
it's good. The right, so it's I'm glad he did the show, and he looked like he was really, having fun and
He
and
loved
was
it. Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah, yeah, I love
I've
this.
never. I've never called into his show. I've never called into E Street Radio. So
I'm shocked.
I don't know.
Well,
I
actually, I'm
always.
shocked. I'm shocked, and I'm not shocked because I could see you. You wouldn't have to call into, to, I guess, to request a song, but you're someone I could see, like, you know your stuff, so you would be able to, have a discussion based on facts and history. But to call in for a song request, I could see that.
Yeah, I always work nights. I work newspapers. I work, night shifts for years.
Right.
So when the show was on, and even now, I don't know. I sort of watch Jeopardy at 7 o'clock every night. So and then
Oh, wow.
sports. I'm going to call in sometime. I'm gonna call in. Stand for motion. Hi.
Stan from Ocean Grove wants to talk about his tour.
Yeah,
Right,
Bruce is
about his
calling,
tour.
not my
Right,
tour.
literally. No, no, your bus tour.
Yeah, you want to talk about your bus tour?
Yes. Ryan, so you will be in when's Cleveland? Friday?
Friday?
You will be live streaming, yes?
Yes, sir.
All right, there we go. We got a live stream. We got a
Whether I
live.
do it publicly or not, I don't know. People were sorry that I wasn't in Pittsburgh last night. You know,
Yeah,
they missed me.
BTX.
They missed me.
They missed you. They missed your singing. They said, yeah.
Is that
But
why we got all these requests today? Or the BTX?
Yes,
they
so I'll
ripped,
be in
they
Cleveland.
ripped the hell out of them. But when there's no stream, they're like, oh, we really do miss Ryan. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Really. So yeah, I'll be
Well,
in
you
Cleveland
know
on
I got your
Friday.
back, Ryan.
Oh yeah, I
I
know.
got your back. And listen, don't worry about it. Tomorrow. Will be my day for sure. They switch off. Don't worry about it. My pictures all over BTX. You would think I was the pinup star. The Farrah Fawcett.
Well, well, the spring nuts run every line. They run for years. They're the ones always at the front of every pit. You just read this stuff, and it's like, well, I don't get me started. But it's
Yeah,
I got
it's
bullied off
everything
there years ago.
everything I don't want to be. So
No, no, it's
Stan, don't feel bad. It was Dave Marsh for years. Me, like Sean Poole used to get, beat up on there. It's like anybody that they don't like, it's just going to be like. But as we've talked about, keyboard warriors that are, sitting behind their screens, they think they can be the tough guys and say whatever shit they want to.
yeah, yeah. What was I
How
called during the rehearsals? I was called
sidewalk sniffer or
fag stalker.
fag
Fag
stalker? That's what it
stalker, and Bruce's security must be in a panic when they see me near the rehearsals. They really keep an eye on me. Little do they know that George Travis, Bruce's tour manager, came over to talk to me for 15 minutes when we were sitting outside. It was as nice as can be. You need a water? You need anything? Good. When we were just talking about the town and the tour and everything else, but I'm this horrible person. Oh boy.
Stan, I don't know. So Jim's the college that he went to. It's in Wayne. Where's Wayne? I don't
William
know.
Patterson, it's North Jersey.
North
North
Jersey,
Jersey. Yeah,
like
Wayne. Jim's from North Bergen. That's northern New Jersey.
okay, got
Up
it,
by the Meadowlands, all that area there.
got it.
Not the Jersey Shore, but yeah.
all right.
Howie, anything to discuss about the business or anything going on
So
or
let's just, I'm obviously we are tomorrow's Thursday, so we are like 8 or 9 days away from Serenade Weekend. I don't even know what date it is anymore, but we are literally okay. The bus to Philly is done. Everyone who signed up is all taken care of. The big question, and it's not really a question, it's more of a waiting pattern. So, and again, I wish I had more answers right now, but I'm not faulting them, obviously, because they got a lot on their plate. It's regarding the not American, the
museum?
Springsteen Center preview for Friday the 29th. It's still in play. Everything is fine. The tickets seem to be worked out. We're just waiting for the green light. It may be another day or so. So I know people are asking me. I'm getting messages and all this stuff, and I wish I had better answers. But honestly, I do feel for them, and they're doing us the favor by doing this. So we just got to sit tight a little bit longer. Um, I honestly believe that everybody that wants to go will go. And if you're, again, this is only for Serenade 8 people anyway, so, there's a lot of people that won't be able to make it because it's coming into Jersey, and there's a lot of people that will come and make their plans. But just sit tight another day or so. I'm hoping that we'll have an answer for you sooner rather than later. It's the number one thing on their docket next to their own opening. So, just sit tight. We're going to, everyone should have gotten their tickets by now. That's for sure. I think we cleared that hurdle. Everyone got their SA tickets. Um, we are going to release the itinerary, I would say Sunday. Okay, by Sunday, you will have a full itinerary of everything that's going on over the weekend and the times and whatnot. Even if you're going to, that will include the bus and the, going to Philly and the T-shirt distribution in the day. And then Saturday night, we have a nice thing planned at the Berkeley for the ones that are not going to Philly. We're gonna have a great time and enjoy ourselves. Sunday we have Tom's Tom Cunningham's show. Okay, from 9 to 11. Then we have the serenade, and I'm telling you, this is going to be something special. And I know I say this every year, but so far every year that we have done it, you've said that how did we top last year? Well, we're confident we can say that we'll be saying the same, God willing, everything goes well. We'll be saying the same thing this year as well. So you're in for a great time Sunday. We're gonna have fun and we're gonna enjoy ourselves. And Monday will be on Advil. So so we'll be all good. So that's what I got to report right now. But we just sit tight and we're 9 days away.
Howie, quick question. I saw someone post this too. The tickets don't have a barcode or anything. They're just like an actual ticket. So you just turn that
Correct.
in. You do have to print it out, then not on the phone.
Well, you don't have to really print it out. We know we have people at the door with the list as well, and your name is on the ticket, which they went above and beyond to do. So everyone has a name on the ticket, but we're pretty much secure. Of how we're doing this, so don't worry about it. Just have it on your phone at least, I would say. Okay, we know a lot of people, sort of forget to print it, and we don't want to make it harder than it is, and we got a lot going on, so we don't want, between if you're going to a Springsteen show or whether you're going to Tom's show, there's a lot to remember. Whatever, the only demand you will have is you're going to be wearing those spanking cool spring nut shirts. Everyone wears them. That's a visual thing for me, and it's what we record. So that's there's not going to be any other shirts but that. Okay, I don't want to. This is not. I'm being very blunt here. The politics is for the tour. This serenade is for fun, and we're gonna have, and that's what we're doing. We're having fun this weekend and Sunday, and so that's what the theme is. The theme of that day is going to be 1,000% Roadhouse fun. So that's the only demand. That's the only demand that we ask from you.
All right. And I just want to say too, we do see all your comments here. The person, Jim, like our guest does not. It's sometimes the interviews go so well, we don't have time to ask all the questions, but we do see everything and we do appreciate everybody's comments. We do read them.
And
So-
some
And
people
just,
do.
sometimes I do screenshot them and I send it to the
Yeah.
guests because I want them to see it.
Yeah.
The
And
ones
just so
that
you know, like some people that we have had guests on that they do have Facebook, like they'll go through and like
Mhm.
answer or respond. So like not everybody uses
Yeah.
Facebook that type
Yeah,
of
so
stuff.
we do love when you comment, but don't
Yeah, we
feel
do.
bad that we don't address it because sometimes it just interrupts the flow sometimes.
Okay, so here is Stan, I'm glad you brought it up. So for
Yeah.
people anybody watching that gets upset, as far as we are concerned, this is about the guests. We want them to feel comfortable. We want them to know that this is about them. Yes, they're Bruce related, but we want to know them. Like we heard Jim talk for an hour about his whole career in radio before we even got to Bruce.
Mm,
That could be a whole other hour. But
mm.
this is about the guests, wanting them to feel comfortable, letting them talk, giving them space to breathe. So if we're not asking questions, we're not being rude to you guys, but this is about the guests. So we appreciate your comments. We do see them, but if we can't ask, then we can't ask, and we're sorry for that. But there's only so much we can do.
Unlike Ryan, who goes through his live streams later and then blocks all the people who criticize. Which I don't blame you. I would do the same thing,
If
right?
you don't like it, don't come back. Sorry,
Yeah, think
Charlie.
about who's criticizing me. Screw you. Then you can't watch it anymore.
See ya. Buy a ticket and you go to the concert.
Yeah. So, all right, Ryan, you'll be in Philadelphia too. We've discussed, right? So,
Yes, sir. Yep.
the night of the party at the Berkeley,
Yep.
some people may have on their phone at Ryan streaming.
Yep.
So, yes. Well, all right.
Well,
All right, good. Good. I had a tooth pulled today. I didn't know I was going to get it done, but I'm feeling okay. I thought I was going for a consultation. My dentist said I should get a tooth pulled, so I had to go to another dentist that does these things. And I thought today was just going to be a consultation, and they were going to set me up on a day. And he goes, "We can do it right now." I'm like, "Okay," but I'm not.
hello. Wait a minute here.
Yeah, it took literally 5 minutes. I didn't even. I felt them in my mouth, but I didn't feel any pain or anything. And even now I'm doing pretty good. So yeah,
Well,
but I'm
good.
glad it got done. So,
I couldn't
all right,
tell. So
Howie.
if you were worried about Novocaine or you're talking funny, you were fine, Stan. I
Yeah,
had no
thank you.
idea.
All right, Howie, we know you're get mobbed every day. I can't imagine the amount of messages you get. So
Well, this is the time. This is the time. You guys pay for it, so we have to make sure we can do everything humanly possible to deliver, and that's what we're working for. And that goes for Julie and for Lauren and for Mary F. and Jones, who have been also, despite their day jobs, have been working literally around the clock to make this a really special event. So they deserve just as much as credit as anybody.
all righty. Good night.
All
All
right.
right, guys.
Wednesday. Next show is
I'll
Friday.
see you guys. I'll see Stan. You'll be watching on Friday or watching
Yeah, I
some of
think
it at some
I'm
point.
home that night. My schedule's been crazy. I've had a lot of tours lately, but I think I don't have one again until Sunday, so I have some free time finally.
I assume next week and the week after you'll be very busy, right?
Yeah, it's busy. Then the concerts are what, June 4th and 5th,
Yep.
and a lot of stuff going on, but that's better than being bored. So that's for sure. Yep. And Howie, well, yeah, I agree with you. The day after the serenade, which will be what, June 1st, I guess.
We'll be yeah.
Yeah, extra strength Tylenol time and
Yeah,
ZQL and
for
everything
sure.
else.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll be passed out.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
All
it'll be a
righty.
good. It'll be good. All right, guys.
Good
Have a
night,
great
Good night,
everyone.
night.
Stan.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us.
All right. Thanks so
See you,
much. Good
Stan.
night.
Bye, guys.
Phil, Howie, are you gonna play? Are you
Yeah.
gonna burst out in the harmonica playing there? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm writing a new song. It's the Spring Night Blues.
Oh, let's hear it. Give us a
What
taste.
what rhymes with BTX?
I don't know, but I'm sure Jim can find some acronyms for us from his sexting days that he was.
Right. Wow, that was
Seriously,
something.
like I've been listening to Jim for like 15 years, and like I know a little bit about his or quite a bit about his background, but some of that stuff I've never heard before. That was like stunning.
Yeah, me too. I had no idea either. But
The BTX Blues.
BTX. One day we'll just get all the real names behind the
Yeah,
screen names.
you can hide all you want behind your screen names and your stuff, but someday it's gonna catch up with you.
It always does. Always
So,
does.
Howie, I'm sorry to ask you this, in case anybody else
Yeah.
asks me, and I think
Yep.
I asked you this before. After the serenade is over, are you going to have a website where you can buy, like people can buy Spring Nut shirts
Yeah. We'll put it up again. But
okay,
we have new stuff coming out, and and also with the serenade, but we have new stuff coming out that we're finishing up. But again with the serenade, we just got to
no,
concentrate.
I totally
Yeah, no,
understand that. I just
yeah. I'm just saying. So that's when we'll put it out after the serenade is over, so we can
so
figure it
was
all
there
out.
a website at one point in time that you were selling stuff or no?
Not the website. Well, there was a website. It was from the printer. It was Shopify, but it
Oh,
was
okay,
yeah.
okay. So is it going to be a Spring Nut like
No.
www.springnuts?
It'll be a
Okay,
Shopify thing, and just
okay,
again, it's just something that people could buy the shirts for a period of time, and then once we sell it, we'll probably close it down. Again, it's no reason
gotcha.
to keep it open year round,
So it's
whatever.
like an on-demand thing. Like people put an order
Yeah,
in, and this company
right. Because
prints it and ships it. And
we don't want to store these things. You know what I mean?
right,
And so we don't have a warehouse like we had before. So it's gotta we just gonna take it on demand, then get the merchandise, and then close it down again. And
gotcha. Okay,
so we don't have to hold it.
okay. Just in case people are asking, because I still get
Yeah,
every
no,
once in a while, I
that's
still
fine.
get a question. All
Can I
right.
send all my inquiries to you? Can I just forward them all to you? You
I
know, I
thought you
love
were. I
stuff.
thought you were doing that. I thought that's
No,
why I was
they
getting
were
all these.
doing that on their own. I can
Ryan, how can
imagine
I
if
get
I sent.
how can I get a T-shirt? How can I get a?
Trust me when I say that if I sent you what I get, I I won't. You'll be ghosting me next. So
Howie who? I don't know any
right,
Howie.
exactly. You'll be ghosting me right after. So
The only Howard I know is your real name Howard.
yeah, I
The
mean,
only
that's what
Howard
only my father and my grandmother should rest in peace were the only two people that called me Howard. Um,
that
but
that would be so weird if I had to call you Howard or some I heard somebody call you Howard. That would be so bizarre to me.
yeah, my father
Hello.
only called me Howard when he was upset with me. I did something wrong. When I
Now,
got Howard,
Howard,
when
we
I
need
got
to sit
Howard,
down and have a
exactly,
conversation.
exactly. Otherwise, we were good. That was the stern talk I was getting.
All right, Howie.
All right.
Howard, I have one question for
Howard.
you.
Okay.
Knicks in 4. What
No,
is your
I'm
bold
being
prediction?
even though I'm euphoric right now, and literally, like I said before, and I meant that I swear to you, I was watching the game. They were down by 22 points, and I said, you know what? It's just they're not their night. I get it. I wasn't even angry. I was disappointed, but I said, okay, I want to go eat, and I don't keep the sound on because I don't like the announcers. I only like Mike Breen because he's pro Nick. So anyway, I went to the kitchen to go finally eat dinner, like 10 something in the night, because I was so invested in the game. But then I said, so I'm not here. And then I come back, and then I yell out, "What?" And Julie hears me from the other room, and she's like, "What's the matter? What's the matter? Everything okay? Whatever." I'm like, "They tied it up. They were down 22. I left the room for 5 minutes and they're tied." I'm like, I could not believe it. And I was like, and then they won. So I listen. I think the Knicks are the better team. I think it'll be Knicks in five or hopefully not six, but Knicks in five.
All
I'm
right.
hoping I'm being, I'm not that guy that who craps on other teams like that. Even though I could hate certain teams, even though I had some friends that were crapping on me in Cleveland when they were up 22 on social media, I didn't respond in kind. So I just let the final score speak for itself.
All right. Well, you heard
That's
it
it.
tonight.
Go Knicks.
Howard says Knicks in 6.
Tops. Knicks in seven. I think if the Knicks, from what someone was telling me, if it was Knicks in seven, I mean the seventh game would be on Serenade Day.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Yeah, so I won't be coming to the Serenade that day. To tell you from that.
You guys go out and have fun. Go out and have
Right,
fun.
all that fun stuff I was telling you about before. How that goes right out the window.
No,
It becomes Nick Pension Day. God
you'd be
forbid.
you'd be in the office in the pony watching TV in a quiet with the room
I'd be at the
closed.
Wonder Bar. I'll be at the Wonder Bar watching on the big screen. What are you talking about? On Berkeley.
Howie, shouldn't you
Serenade.
be
Let the
somewhere right
mofos do
now?
their.
Don't talk to me.
I tell the mofos, you got this. Take care of it. Do your thing. I'll be back.
Oh my God. All right, Howie. Have a good
All
night,
right,
buddy.
guys.
I'll talk
Have
to
a
you.
good night, everybody. It's been great. Have a good night.
Yep. Philadelphia freedom. I love you. Yes, I do. Philadelphia freedom. Hello, Bluesy. Hi, baby. Hello. Hello, my pretty girl. Oh, yes. I see you. All right. I am out of here. Have a good night, everybody. Be well. Be safe. I will be in the land of Cleves on Friday. Sunas is on here. Irina, Emily, good to see everybody. Emily, be well. Hope things are going. Jim Leonardis, ciao, arrivederci. Jim, aren't you going to Italy? Are you in Italy? Alice, good night. Alice from Dallas. Sunas, will you be at the Serenade? I don't know if we've talked about this. Are you going to the Serenade next week or no? I can't remember. Sorry if I asked you this. Just made it to the duty free at the border, and I'm staying here for the night. Jim, that is you, right? I met you and your son at the clinch, and you're going to Italy next week. You will not be at the serenade. Jim's son or daughter is getting married. Lisa, yes, I'm behind the stage. I will be in the first row right behind Curtis. We're not in the center section. There's like this row behind the singers. There's the main section behind Max. You can see Max's crack. And then there's a section behind the horn players. I will be behind right where about Curtis stands. So yes, 30th flying out. Well, Jimmy, safe travels, my friend. Hope the wedding goes well. Hope all goes well. Hope the weather cooperates. We are behind the horns. I will look for you. Lisa, we can lean over the rail and wave at each other. Me behind the singers and you behind the horns. Hello, Lisa. I'm bummed I'm not with you in the first row. Emily, where are you sitting? Why aren't you sitting behind us with the first row? We were supposed to be at like mid-court in the first bowl, but once those seats popped up behind the stage, Pam sent her tickets back and got those tickets. Boom! And on Friday night, I'm in this what could be the first row. It's listed as the second row, but it could be the first row, depending on how the setup is behind the horn. So, as usual, behind the stage. This will be the first time I've seen a show. My brother Kevin is the reason I'm a Bruce fan, or he introduced me to Bruce. First show he took me to see was Tunnel of Love. I don't think he's seen a show since the River Tour 16. This will be their first show behind the stage, so we'll see how that goes. Uh, sorry, Dave. Okay, I gotta go. I got stuff to do. David wants to watch the replay. He wants me to stop yapping, so I'm gonna stop yapping. Oh, Jim and Bruce's face are stretched out. Bruce and Jimmy, I apologize for that. All right, I'm out of here, folks. Have a good night. Be well. For those of you that watch my stream, I will be on. All right. Everybody have a good night. Be well. I'll be streaming again Friday morning and then on Friday night from the show. Everybody, thank you for attending tonight. Thank you for hanging in there this whole time. Adios, muchachos.